let's talk about my relationship with the Pentacle. So, over time, this has definitely switched up quite a bit. It is probably the symbol that means the most to me when it comes to witchcraft and getting into the craft and really messing with things. It has the most power, it feels to have the most protection, and a lot of things I think that allowed me to connect with it the most is looking into the many different associations. So when I first looked into the craft, took some classes, read some books, you know, you read all the things, you sit down, you're like, okay, you quickly learn Pentacle doesn't mean devil, Satanism, what have you. There is the inverse pentagram, which can be at times be a representation of the beast. Sometimes Satan is there are many different associations when it comes to it, right? With the pentacle itself being the upright star, the circle a lot of times is a symbol of power, of protection, of grounding of earth. In the tarot, it is a symbol of like money. But I think what honestly got me the most behind it was this concept of the pentagram being earthly, because it's us, the 5-pointed star. The whole, you know, Da Vinci with the man and arms stretch out, our arms, our legs, our head. We are the pentagram. And in that sense, connecting all ground and circling all together, the grounding within the pentacle. The casting of the circle around us. And I think that a lot, I don't know, I'm experimenting a lot with the whole, I did a video on personal power earlier, and it reminds me of the personal power. It reminds me so much of the power coming from us. But because of the societal relations with the pentagram and the pentacle, inversed, upright, what have you, it is definitely something that I've struggled with quite a bit. This ring is probably something that I bought, a few months into my journey or something, when I realized how much charge, you know, just seeing it, having it around really did for me. I was like, I want to buy a ring like that and just wear it all the time. I think it'll just give me a constant reminder of magic and everything else. But because of that symbol and its nature, I do end up taking it off at the beginning of my craft quite frequently, or at minimum I would take the ring, don't spill the coffee, Sam, just put you over there. I would take my ring and I would just spin it around, so you would just see a simple band, and then the pentagram would be here, kind of towards my palm. And there are times where I do that anyway, just because I kind of wanted, I don't know, it feels like I'm centering a lot of energy onto me for some reason. Not entirely sure why that is, but it is something I do. And this is just to take some of the notice away, because, you know, like, sometimes I just don't want to have the conversation. Sometimes in a place where it might be a little unsafe. Going from a ring even to wearing this has been something that is interesting, because I would wear a pentacle a lot when I lived in Arizona, but it was always underneath more conservative clothes. Like I would wear this even quite frequently. I bought this here on one of my trips to Portland before I moved here, but I had another smaller one that I would wear, and it would be hidden a lot by a shirt or a sweater, you know. Sometimes even I would just take this, flip it around down the back, and then clearly you can't see it, but there's a pentacle on me. Also, the whole concept of like taking a pentacle or a necklace like this and wearing it back here kind of feels like something's watching my back. Like I got a little, someone's like sending energy from behind me type of deal. And that really just, I don't know, it worked well for me. But it being such a out and open symbol of witchcraft, and still being something so sacred to me, something that I've worn with quite a lot, I guess. I don't know, like it feels like a lot of times when I do spin this ring, or I switch this around, or don't wear a necklace, in some ways I feel like I'm disappointing witchcraft in some way. I feel like I'm not standing for my beliefs when I can. But going back to that video I said about, you know, how many times am I standing up for my beliefs, you know, wearing it around friends or family, whatever else. It's interesting how here in Portland I made a very strong commitment. One of the things I really wanted to do in my life is, because I have the opportunity to, is just to live it as openly as possible, is the fact that if you're a really good friend of mine and you come over to my apartment, there's an altar and there's a pentagram hanging above it, and no, I'm not taking any of that down. If I want to wear a ring or a necklace, you know, I'm wearing it, and if I get weird looks, which I've noticed, or I get interesting propositions or whatever else, like, that's fine, cool, like, I'll answer questions or whatever, but if you're going to be in my life, this needs to be okay. A lot of times if people start talking about how suddenly they're extremely religious and they didn't ever talk about it, after a few months I'll be like, oh, that's okay, and normally that friendship will fade off. I've had a couple of dates that have gone that way for sure, where I've noticed where I will feel hesitant suddenly to wear this, even though it was on my person the entirety week, but suddenly I feel the need to change my jewelry before I go out on the date. And many times then suddenly I find myself talking to a partner who is very, like, clearly within a Christian tradition they feel very strongly about, and that's just not gonna work for me in the romantic partner sense, right? Like, I have no problem having a bunch of friends who have different religious faiths or whatever, but I want my friends to be aware of it and be aware of how sacred it is to me, and not to have any issue with it in the extent of, if you believe that I am going to hell for my whatevers, the things I do, the spirits I commune with, if you think that I am inherently a bad person by having these beliefs and operating my life in this way, then clearly you don't think that highly of me, and I don't want you in my life. And that was something that I'm trying very, very hard to implement in all aspects, and very much so with a romantic partner, right? But also then, like, giving people the chance to, like when I hear someone's like Catholic, in like the sense of like their family was Catholic, but like they still do the things to kind of like make their family happy, like, I'm like, or does that mean that you believe that way? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things to like peel back, and I'm really trying to force myself to have more of those conversations. One easy way to do that is to wear a very obvious symbol of the path that I'm on, you know? And maybe not obvious in the sense of like, someone who wears this, someone sees me wearing this, is not necessarily going to know immediately that I'm a pagan, I'm a witch, right? Like, there's plenty of people who wear it as more of like a gothic, you know, just a, I don't know, artistically, aesthetically thing, and it doesn't have any spiritual meaning to them, but to me it does. And if someone is intrigued by like, are you one of those? Like, that question is going to get asked if I wear this more often. And, you know, having the confidence to do that is, it's taken a minute. I've also thought recently, if you've seen one of my vlogs, you'll notice that there is 5 freckles that have appeared on my breast, and they're not equilaterally distant, but it's enough that where it's like I can see, like, hey, a pentagram could connect all of them. And I think that is something that is immediately intriguing to me, because for a long time I had been thinking of, you know, different tattoos I want to get. If a lot of them have to do now with the occult or magical meanings, things that really matter to me. A pentagram or pentacle tattoo somewhere on me. But then suddenly I had that idea of, where is a place that I can get it that won't be obvious? Because I really enjoy being kind of under the radar when it comes to tattoos specifically, like not even occult version tattoos, just tattoos in general. I kind of like in the fall or in the winter being able to, you know, not wear a like a 3/4 length thing with like some pants, and no one can see any tattoos on me. For some reason, like, having the ability to kind of go full like incognito is nice. I like being able to do that if I need to, you know, just out of convenience and, you know, comfortability sake. And I think that concept is a lot of what comes down to this pentacle, is the idea that wearing this or being really obvious in a outwardly way about paganism and such, it's a very interesting battle that I have, because it is such a important symbol. It holds so much power for me. It is the idea of grounding, protection, embodiment, power. It reminds me all the time that my power comes from me, and in that way I love to wear it as much as possible. But then there comes the fear and the idea of, oh, this is drawing attention. Is it drawing the attention I want it to draw? Is there a part of me who gives a damn about the attention that I get? Am I in a safe enough place that who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? And the idea of a tattoo as well, like the idea of, I don't know, for me tattoos are very, very sacred, and they are a thing that it is not just a catalog of my life or a symbol necessarily that means something. In a lot of ways it is, by putting something on my skin, by involving blood in it, ever since coming to the craft, it is something that is, if anything, a reminder, a emblem that is supposed to really oomph me up. And so having a pentacle tattoo would feel so empowering and great for me. But the idea that I could go to a pool party with a bunch of my more conservative relatives, and they always comment on my tattoos. The minute there's a new one on my body, they notice it, right? So for them to see that one specifically would definitely raise some eyebrows. I don't know, sometimes I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to be, you know, out and about. In one of my videos about speaking up for my beliefs, there were some really great responses to that one. And one of the things that got brought up was the mix of, you know, speaking up, like maybe things could have been connected and had better relationships from the get-go, and a lot of times a lot of those conversations aren't fucking worth having because the person is like talking to a brick wall, and if anything it might even be a detriment to you, not just like physical safety wise or like what you're doing with your life, but just like mentally and emotionally. It's like, what, why put that effort forth? Both points I very much agree with, and I think that's kind of like the conundrum is, you know, you don't know how everyone's going to react, and there still is a whole bunch of, you know, some ways a lot of negative connotations when it comes to the pentacle and the pentagram. The symbol is in so many ways very, I guess, controversial, and is me wearing it more helping in that sense, you know, as people get to know me, you know, me talking about witchcraft, me talking about witchcraft on this channel, you know, does it bring more people to it and make people realize it's like, hey, I'm not some weird, I don't know, person out in the woods doing weird things that freak you out. I mean, I might some days. You know, it's like, even to them like saying things as like examples of something that like I am not, it's like, but I mean, it's not wrong, it's just that association with it, like the idea of it being a wholly negative thing that is doing nothing but detrimental to my life and to the lives of the people around me. It's just, I hope I'm helping to alleviate that, but maybe in a small way of just like, if this symbol is just more present in the world in general, whether it's just like a person walking down the street or you running into it in media or however else, and seeing multiple associations with it, then it becomes a lot less, I don't know, conflicty, frictiony of a symbol to wear around for people. And if I could help with that, why not? I don't know, it's very interesting because I think I would love to get a pentagram tattoo, but like really thinking about it and what that means in certain aspects, like the idea of, okay, well, if I get a pentagram tattoo somewhere where like maybe a one-piece bathing suit would be able to cover, then it comes down to, okay, I can only wear certain bathing suits around my family, which is not necessarily, again, a bad thing. It kind of is what it is. Am I willing to do that? Or is there going to be a point where, say, if I wear the wrong bikini, or if I, you know, if it is exposed and someone mentions it to me, am I willing to have that conversation? Am I willing for the consequences? Or do I really want to just continue to fly under the radar for so much? Because wearing a pentacle doesn't make me more of a witch. Having a pentagram tattoo, a pentacle tattoo, doesn't make me more of a witch. It's just something I really like and I really want to do. It doesn't add any more or whatever to my practice. It's just something that it resonates with me, and I think that's what it really comes down to. Because when it comes to symbols, and specifically things that have very big cultural, societal connotations versus like what our personal thing is, I think so many times that war is an interesting thing to think about, right? Because I know a lot of people have talked about how like this symbol means a lot to them, this symbol doesn't mean so much to them. This symbol can be very empowering for someone, even just seeing it can trigger so much, and that exact same symbol for somebody else does absolutely nothing, or if anything maybe there's a negative connotation. And I think my biggest war is because I realized I've kind of at this point cast away the guilt and the idea of like, oh well, if I don't do this then I'm a bad witch. Instead it's more of I'm mad because I feel like I'm not being true to myself by wearing it more, right? If I'm going out of my way to hide something that I just naturally do on the regular, then am I not being true to myself in some way, you know, just by not wearing this, by taking it off for a date, by spinning my ring around, by not getting the tattoo even though I've kind of wanted it now for over 6 months, which is my normal, like, you want the tattoo. That's normally like my line of being like, okay, good, I've decided on a design, I really like it. I mean, at this point I have my tattoo artist that I really love, so it's not like I normally would add another like few months of like researching people, but that's a different topic. Yeah, so I feel like I'm not being as true to myself with it by not integrating the pentacle more into my life, because I'm worried about the judgments and the fear, and if it's okay for me to go into the radar more, or I don't know. Anyway, comment down below, what is your relationship with the pentacle, pentagram, upside or upside down, reversed, etc. and so forth, all of that down below. Have you struggled with it? Is it a symbol you can't even let anywhere near your person or your house because of the associations that society has with it? Or is it something that you hold very, very dear to you and that you would have no problem pushing out into the world? All of that down below. And this is part of Youtober, so I will see you guys tomorrow.